that was the 60s, the 70s. You're playing pro there. Tell us a little bit more about your career in tennis.
Up until high school, if you were a top junior, you were put on the Junior Davis Cup squad. And the Junior Davis Cup squad traveled around the country playing in the men's tournaments, so we had great exposure to play in the amateur game that was then. Then I went to Rice University in college, and when I graduated from there, of course the Vietnam War was on, and I was to be drafted. I was classified 1A, and actually, it's an interesting story. One of the members of the club here, Monty Bernstein, knew that I was going to be drafted. I went for my physical. I passed. I was 1A, and the only way to get out of it was go to Canada or become a school teacher because you got an occupational deferment. So I wasn't an education major, but I took enough courses at St. John's to get a substitute teacher's license. And then I couldn't get a job, and Monty Bernstein said, "Hey, my sister's a principal in Flushing. She'll hire you. I'll give her a call." So he called her up. The next day I had a job at one, I guess, what was it? I'm not sure what the school was now. And they wrote a letter to my draft board, and I got out of the Army. So I was a school teacher for a year. And that sort of hindered my playing pro tennis quite a bit. But the next year, I was offered the job as coach of Columbia Tennis. And that gave me an occupational deferment, which allowed me to play about 6 months on the tour while coaching. So every April, I say, "See you guys. Now it's my turn." I would go to Europe and play Wimbledon and come back and play the U.S. circuit. And then I'd have to hang up the racket in September and be a coach. So my career was a half a career.
Yeah, but speaking about your coaching career, you coached Vitas Gerulaitis.
We had a chance. Vitas came to Columbia. He was a very good player. And I had two other players that since they graduated became top 50 in the world. And we had a brief window there that if Vitas had stayed, he left after his freshman year and turned pro. If he had stayed to through his sophomore year, we could have maybe won the NCAA, which would have been really unbelievable for an Ivy League school with no scholarships to pull that off. But we came close.
I told you I had a kind of family personal relationship. My mom knew Vitas and was actually at the matches out at the Meadow Club in the Hamptons when he died. That was pretty tragic.
Wow. Yeah, he was quite a guy, and he had a lot of problems, and he was overcoming them, and it was really sad that that he was clearing everything up, and then that tragic accident happened.
It's Eric Fromm? No.
Eric Fromm, yes. Yeah.
So you coached him too?
Eric Fromm we had, I guess Eric was another one that got to be top 50 in the world. He was quite a player. He turned pro, actually, broke my heart. He left Columbia after his sophomore year and turned pro. So, I mean, that was the problems with the day. If you were good, you left college.
Yeah. They stole him away from you.
They stole me. You could say that.
So getting back to the role your dad played in the Bayside club here, and you were learning. You learned. I love that, a guy of your stature and where you came from here in Bayside. Tell us about the club when you guys first came here.
Well, Dad was president of the USPTA, so he had a pretty good pedigree when he came here. And one of the things they did, which was interesting, is they gave memberships out to the top players in the East. So there was always top tennis here. But in those days, there really weren't any indoor courts. So it was tough to develop your game in just the summer months. So I remember as a little boy, we'd go on the platform courts in the winter, and we'd practice volleying. We'd go in the squash courts when it was too cold, and we would hit against the wall, backboard. And then we played a lot of badminton because the lounge now, it was an official badminton court. We used to play badminton and volleyball, and the badminton, of course, helped your overhead. It was a great sport. And I even played squash for the club.